Take two. Ooh. Hey guys, AYT here and welcome back to another video. Hope you guys' day is going well. Mine definitely is. So as you can see, I'm introducing a new what if, and this will be what if Deku had an enhancement mutation. So this will be part 0 because it's mostly backstory, and yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it. Also, because I have reached over 500 viewers, I will be doing a 500 viewer special what if, and I might have to think about that one. But it will hopefully be really good. I've already got one in mind. What if Deku was the King of Flames? Kind of like the Monkey King, but of flames. We'll see. Alright. Yeah, so let's get into this. So we begin with Inko in the hospital just as she was giving birth to Izuku, and Inko and Hisashi, who was basically deaf because Inko, she was screaming her head off, let's just say that, and Hisashi was right next to her, so his ears were ringing, and I'm gonna say he was also holding onto a hand, and at the moment he was regretting that decision because Inko's fingernails were digging into his muscles. Yes, they penetrated through his skin, and now they're threatening to puncture his muscles. So he's in a current situation of pain right now. Yeah. So like I said, he regretted saying he'll hold his hand, and about 5 minutes later, when Izuku finally came out, Hisashi and Inko's face with pain switched to, a loving and excited one. Tears streamed down from Inko's eyes as she held Izuku. After so long, we've finally done it. We're now parents. Hisashi, even though his hand was bleeding, he was in a terrible amount of pain, and his ears were still ringing, and he could barely hear anything. He couldn't help but smile. So, alright, I know what I'm doing. So he knows how to impact. So when Izuku's on the floor, he's like, how to impact! And he does how to impact, and I'm gonna say, whilst he's doing this, Izuku's watching him very, very keenly. He's like, he's analyzing what he's doing basically. And then when Bakugo is just about to hit him, he flashes away. Yeah, he flashes away. I'm gonna say he doesn't have, on 0%, he doesn't have cooldown on flash. Nah, that's a little too OP. I'll probably nerf it a little. I'll say he has like a 1 minute cooldown. After this is the only exception. After that, he has a 1 minute cooldown. So he uses flash, get out, and then he runs back to Bakugo, kicks him in the sky, jumps up, and then overhead kicks him back to the floor. And then he's like, let's see if I can do this properly. And he's just like, decimation impact, and he flicks behind him to propel himself forward. And then he basically copies how to impact, but instead of using explosion, he uses like the wind around him. Decimation impact, and he's smiling, just like, wow, he's copying Bakugo already. So yeah, I'm gonna say just before Deku was about to hit Bakugo, he loses control of it, and it like spread out. So like the surrounding area is damaged. Like it's like a sonic boom, basically. A sonic boom just occurs, and everything's like either split in half or pushed. So Bakugo does still get hit by this, just it's nowhere near as powerful as it would have been if decimation impact did actually work. So yeah, Deku does not have wind manipulation, by the way. I'm just saying that he does that because he. I'll explain it later when he acquires the analyzation ability. So I'm just gonna leave it with Bakugo and Deku just laughing and Hisashi awarding them with some KFC because why not? Who doesn't? If you don't love KFC, you don't talk to me. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's a bit longer than normal. I'm pretty sure it's like 50 something minutes. Part 2 should be coming tomorrow. Hopefully nothing will go wrong. And yeah, peace. No one slaps me. And Deku, he walked over to his desk, face palming and shaking his head. As this is a normal thing that Bakugo does, you know, gets himself in trouble and starts chasing people. That sounds like I'm basic. Yeah, so Izuku was standing at his desk, and I'm gonna say the girl was looking behind her and bumped straight into him, causing her to topple over. And Bakugo closed in on her, but Bakugo closed in on her with sparks, you know, emitting from his hands. And before he could do anything, Izuku stood in front of him and looked Bakugo, kind of disappointed. Move, Izuku. You've got no part in this. Izuku shrugged and looked Bakugo in the eyes. Why are you even chasing her? Bakugo, he looks down, and this is kind of a shitty story, but it works. I accidentally called her a bitch. Then she slapped me. And no one slaps me. Izuku looked at the slap mark on Bakugo's face, and then he looked at Bakugo, and then looked at the girl. And he face palmed again. Bakugo, you can't go around slapping people. You can't go around chasing people because you called them a name and they slapped you. Though you may not have deserved to be slapped. So Izuku, he decided to take the punishment upon himself, and he chopped Bakugo on the head, kind of like what a master would do to their student. Like they chop him on the head, and then he went up to the girl and chopped her on the head. Yeah, Izuku's like that. Izuku sensei. Yeah, so Bakugo, after getting chopped, did calm down, but he still glared at the girl, who was visibly shaking in her seat. And I'm gonna say, 5 minutes. 5 minutes after that event, the teacher entered and school went on as normal. Well, that was until assembly. Well, you see, the headmistress... No, why am I saying you see? Okay. The headmistress tapped the microphone just to make sure it was working, make sure everything was in place. And then they started to speak about normal assembly stuff, like awards and all of that jazz. So, Izuku, he never paid attention in assembly, barely paid attention in school because, in fact, he barely paid attention in school because he was smarter. He knew everything that they were teaching. He knew most things that they were teaching because enhancement, mutation, be overpowered. So, yeah. So he wasn't paying attention, and I'm pretty sure everyone who's been in an assembly or been somewhere with a microphone and speakers have come across a time where I don't know what causes that, but like a high frequency sound comes out of the speaker and you're like, what the hell? Yes, like a kind of like that. So When that happened, Izuku, he fell to his knees and he was clutching his head trying to make the pain go away. And he let out a scream that alarmed the whole auditorium. So kids started making even more noise. The teachers got up and started to run towards Izuku, and Izuku felt and heard the vibrations traveling through the floor. On top of that, with the kids screaming and chatting and everything, and obviously none of this helped. Oh jeez. So I'm saying by the time the teachers got to Izuku, he'd basically gone through. His head was hurting so much that it just shut down. Yep, his head shut down, like he blacked out. So I'm gonna say 1 week later, Deku. Oh jeez, I'm doing present tense again. Okay. Deku began to slowly wake up and his head was still pounding and his ears carried on ringing. He looked around and saw that he was in a hospital. The hell I'd get here, he thought. Izuku turned his head to the direction of the approaching footsteps. Cause enhanced hearing. I'm pretty sure you noticed that he has enhanced hearing by now. So the door slightly opened and made a kind of screechy noise. And Izuku, he didn't like this. So I don't know if you've ever had this like time where you're so angry like the tiniest thing can tick you off. Yeah, that's basically how Izuku is feeling right now after hearing the noise. So he put his hands over his very sensitive ears and he basically kept them like that until the woman sat down. Now Izuku noticed that she had a box in her hands. Yeah, a box in her hands, and she got up from her chair towards Izuku, who basically at this point wanted to cut her legs off, and I'm not going to go into detail about what he wants to do with her legs. You use your imagination. Bear in mind that he's 3 years old, so yeah. And carefully, she got the gift box and carefully placed it on Izuku's lap to make minimal noise. As I'm pretty sure you've worked out, you have very sensitive hearing. This is because of your quirk, which I'm sure you've also worked out. We've named this quirk an Enhancement Mutation. I thought manipulation. What? Enhancement Mutation. For a normal 3-year-old, we'd have to explain in baby terms, but because of your EM, short for Enhancement Mutation, it boosts your intelligence, so I'm sure it's self-explanatory. Now, before we let you go, we have to do a quick checkup to make sure everything is okay and you can go back to your mother, who's been sitting down there for, I'm gonna say, cause she's the best mom ever. She's been there for the whole week. Ever since Izuku went into hospital, she has not stayed in the seat because obviously managed to sleep. I mean, woman needs to sleep and eat, so yeah, but she's been on the hospital for like 1 week. Yeah, so they did the checkup and Izuku was in an immense pain because the machines made noise and Izuku did not like noise. He almost broke one machine. Anyway, so just as Izuku was about to leave, he remembered that the woman gave him a gift. So he lifted the lid and saw a pair of headphones. Obviously, this confused Deku. Why'd you get me headphones when I have sensitive ears? The woman, she got up and smiled. They're nullifiers, not headphones. And basically, they were created specifically for you. They can switch sound to a certain frequency so you can hear it comfortably. Izuku, he was skeptical, but kind of amazed, still 3 years old. Going into my second script. which means now I've got to create a whole new script, because now I'm going to cover the part 2 script that I've done, and then part 1 script that I've done. Okay. Yeah, so he placed them on his ears and he heard a robotic voice. Loading.
Loading. Scanning for appropriate frequency. Done. Hello Izuku Midoriya.
Izuku, he was surprised and happy that, he could hear the words properly. So the woman put the headphones to the test and she dropped a glass, which Izuku could hear perfectly fine, but it didn't hurt him to the point where he was in pain. It was just like normal hearing, basically. So he ran to the lady and hugged her. Thank you so much. And she hugged him back and brushed his hair, maybe asking why. You'll find out who she is later. Anyway, so she said no problem, and Deku let go and ran. She showed him to his mom. So when Izuku finally saw his mom, obviously he was happy. Mom! Izuku screamed as he ran towards her, and Inko looked up and her whole body went from I'm anxious AF to my kid just rose from the dead. she was very happy. Her whole body lightened up, basically. Izuku, you made it! I was so worried. I thought you left me. And obviously, Izuku was happy to see his mom, but he was kind of he asked where his dad was. And Inko, she laughed because it was kind of a funny story now that she thought about it. But then it wasn't a funny story. Let's just say his dad ended up getting slapped. He says she got a slap to the face. So Inko basically explained that your dad's waiting for you at home, and he said he was very confident that you would make it. He's one of those fathers that you could be bleeding to death and you could be in a coma, literally clinging onto your life, and he would still stay at home believing that you'd make it. So yeah, he said that I helped make the next #1 hero. He will make it. After all, he is our son. So that ended up getting him a slap. And yeah, so Deku smiled, happy that his father had so much confidence in him, even though it was kind of stupid. But yeah, that happened and they left the hospital. Right, now I'm into my part 1 script. The first recording was 27 minutes long. Ah, okay. Alright, so yeah, I'm gonna say we skipped 2 days. Yeah, so oh no! I forgot something. Damn it. Okay, I skipped that bit. I don't know why. The woman that gave the doctor told Izuku to train because his body needed to keep up with his work. Now we can get into part 1 script. Even though this is meant to be part 0. You know what? I'll probably just do part 0. I haven't finished part 1, never mind. I'll do part 0. So after 2 days, Izuku started to follow instructions and he started to exercise and train. He had a fixed schedule. Now, to the big boys or girls, or whoever watching this video that's over the age of 7, should find this pretty easy. 10 push-ups, 20, actually no. Who knows? It depends on what you do. 10 push-ups, 20 sit-ups, and after that, a 200-meter run. Oh, Izuku's in a 3-year-old body doing this. Oh my goodness, this could hurt him. And that was just in the morning. In the afternoon, because he'd been training his legs. Pretty sure that's all leg. No. He's training his core, his arms, and his legs. Okay. So in the afternoon, Izuku, he did weights. He would do 30 curls of enhanced strength, 5 kg, curls of 5 kg, deadlift 15 kg, which is a lot for a 3-year-old. And I'm gonna say he runs with a parachute. Yeah. No, he doesn't. That's his afternoon. That forget the parachute thing. He'll do that last. So that's the parachute. That's the afternoon routine, and then in the evening, Izuku would do parachute. No, he would do weighted. He would wear weighted clothes, kind of like what Goku does. He wears like weighted clothes. So Izuku would wear weighted clothes, and he would run with a parachute, basically. That would increase his endurance by what? Did it increase his strength? I'm pretty it would increase his strength and speed and stamina. Yeah, so that happened. And he would do that for the next 3 months. And then for the other 3 months, Izuku would wear weighted clothes the whole day and continue to do this routine. So, first month was pretty easy. The second month was a lot harder for him. So by the time Izuku turned 4, he looked like himself. Okay, he looked like an Izuku version of Asta. Like, he had the body structure of Asta, he had the height of normal Izuku, and he looked like himself, just like with Asta's muscles and everything. Yeah, so he was pretty ripped, doing gun training sometimes. No, he doesn't do gun training yet. Forget that. Okay, so 2 weeks after Izuku turned 4, Hisashi went up to him and offered to train Izuku in the family techniques. That was bad. Okay. So obviously, Deku accepted to learn his family techniques and started to train using the Midoriya family techniques. So wait, what am I saying? Okay. So finally, Hisashi thought he was ready and invited him to the beach to teach him the first technique. Even though I said they started to train using the Midoriya family technique, he never actually did. I don't know why I said that. Okay, so he learned the first technique called compression, and this was like a must-have for the Midoriya technique. Like, if you don't have this, you're not classified as Midoriya. Even Inko has it. Yeah, so it's called compression, and Hisashi explains that this technique allows you to compress your power, and yeah, it may sound easy, but it's hard to master. First, you'll learn 100%, then 50%, and the others can come later when you've mastered them too. Bear in mind, I said compression, so 100% compression would be him completely blocking out his enhancement mutation and just using his body or his muscles in skill. And then 50% would be him 50% not using it and 50% using it. I'm pretty sure you get the idea. So it took Izuku the hang of trying to block out his power, and then it took him a while to get the hang of completely blocking out his power. So, are we at the 30-minute mark, or is that just me being blind? Okay, we're at the 20-something minute mark. I have an ink. I have a crack on my phone, which is shit, and there's ink all over it, so I can barely see what minute I'm on at the moment. Yeah, so it took Izuku. By the time he finishes it, he's 6. Okay, I'm gonna say it took Izuku 5 months to be able to switch between 0%, 100%, 6 weeks. Yes, I hope I didn't say 6 weeks, I meant 6 months. To be able to switch between 0%, 100%, and 50%. and that was just to be able to switch. Now, Hisashi made him do the mastery test, which was basically Izuku had to keep his. Izuku had to switch between 0%, 50%, and 100% every hour for a week straight. Yeah, so basically this would teach Izuku's body how to naturally switch between each percent when he needs to. So obviously Izuku thought this would be quite easy, but that thought quickly was eradicated, because not only did he have to master that, but he had to concentrate on school as well. So this was during school too. I'm gonna say because it was a week. It took Izuku 5 weeks. It took Izuku 5 weeks, basically 5 tries. 5 weeks to completely switch between those 3 every hour. And I'm gonna say Hisashi knew. He just knew. In fact, no, forget that. Every Midoriya who knows compression, I'm gonna just say, with the Midoriya techniques, you can like sense other people using them or other people who have them. Yeah, it's a family technique. So Hisashi, after noticing that he'd mastered it, because it took him 6 months, he's like, what, 5.5 now? I'm pretty sure he's 5.5. I hope he's 5. He's 5.5. Anyway, he's 5.5 now. So Hisashi also taught Izuku a technique called Flash. Now, before we get into that, Izuku showed Bakugo his compression technique, and it wasn't too strong because Izuku's only been alive for 5.5 years. 6.5 years. Goodness, I gave him a compliment. Izuku's only been alive for a little while, so it was strong, but it was like 20%. His 50% was equivalent to, no, his 0% was equivalent to about 30% of One For All right now. So Deku One For All right now. So yeah. So he showed Bakugo his compression technique, and Bakugo thought it was pretty cool. Pretty sure on the 27th minute right now. So Bakugo thought it was pretty cool, and he wanted to also be trained by Hisashi, but unfortunately, I'm gonna say Hisashi did train him, but he didn't train him in the Midoriya techniques, because only the Midoriyas can actually do the Midoriya techniques. I'm gonna just say it's a gene in their body that's allowed them to do that certain technique. So only the Midoriyas can do that. Same as the Bakugo technique that Bakugo and Mitsuki do not know about. Oh, I did give myself. I just thought of another thing for the 500 special. What if Izuku could use all techniques? That'd kind of be OP, like. Basically, what if Izuku could use that? Like, what if Izuku could engineer? That'd be interesting. Yeah, I'll have to dispute. Alright, so let's get back into the Flash thing. So the Flash technique allowed Izuku to move at 0% compression whilst the other stats were on another level. So let's say Izuku's using 75% compression, which means he's only using 25% of his actual power. He could, if he were to use Flash, his speed would drop down to 0%. And yeah, I hope you guys get that. Izuku, he mastered this skill quite quickly and created a variation of it called Bounce Flash. So Bounce Flash, what made it unique and different to Flash was that instead of just blitzing towards your target or opponent, Izuku would punch the floor so that rocks came up. Basically punch the floor so hard that rocks would fly up, and then he would flash from one rock to another rock. And it would have to be I would say because it's 0% compression, and 0% compression is pretty fast right now. So I would say he's not moving so fast they can't see him, but he's moving fast. He's moving fast enough for it only to be a blur, basically. So they can kind of see him, but it's only a blur. Yeah. Super speed be like, innit? So, he also mastered bounce technique, bounce flash in like 1 month. So Izuku's now 6. Izuku's now 6. And I'm gonna say, ever since Izuku learned Flash, Bakugo and Izuku, since they were training under the same master, they would have this monthly thing where at the end of the month they would spar with each other. So it came the day where they would spar, and Izuku had just, he mastered it, didn't he? Shit, okay. Yeah, Izuku was quite good with his Midoriya techniques, and I would say Hisashi's ability is kind of like what I said, like he can use all techniques. So Hisashi did teach Bakugo the Bakugo techniques. Kind of weird, right? Yeah, so wait, I'm gonna say the Midoriya techniques are like compression based, like compressing your power. And then I'm gonna say the Bakugo techniques are like, because it is explosion, the explosion is letting out power. So I'm gonna say his is letting out power. Like he wouldn't have compression, he would have something like amplify and stuff. Yeah, okay. Izuku will soon get something like amplify, but it'll be different. So so obviously Bakugo had his explosion quirk, and Izuku had his enhancement mutation quirk. So Hisashi, he said, ready, set, go, and he pulled his hand down. And Izuku, he immediately I'm gonna be mean to Bakugo. I'm gonna say Izuku went straight up 0% compression, so full power, and the atmosphere shifted just a tiny bit. Like you would have to have quite good sensory skills to know that the atmosphere changed. So yeah, Izuku kind of shifted the atmosphere, and Bakugo could sense it, and he also amplified his abilities. Should I say that he mastered? No, I'm gonna say that he's only mastered 50. Yeah. So Bakugo, he does 50% amplify, and they go at it, punching and kicking. So I'll say Izuku, he starts speeding up, and it gets to the point where Bakugo can kind of keep up, but he knows that if he keeps fighting Izuku, then he'll end up losing, because he doesn't have anywhere near as much stamina as Izuku, and he's not stronger than Izuku, he's not faster than Izuku. I'm gonna say he once or twice managed to outsmart Izuku, but he's not smarter than Izuku, and yeah, he's basically at a disadvantage here. So he starts to use his explosion quirk and try to propel himself backwards, but he did that once, and Izuku, he used Flash to kind of like flash behind Bakugo, and he punched him. He slammed him to the ground. He basically, when Bakugo was passing by him, he grabbed his throat from behind and just slammed him into the ground. So Bakugo was pretty much eating dirt right now, and Bakugo, he heated up his arms. Because I'm gonna say he can heat up his arms. He doesn't have to use nitroglycerin or sweat. He can just like emit explosions, no problem. So he heats up his arms and creates an explosion that propels them upwards. And he grabs Izuku's legs and slams him. He throws him down to the ground, and it creates a little crater. It creates a little crater, and there's a bit of smoke around, but not too much. So Bakugo, he then blasts towards Izuku using his explosions, and he has like a because it's I don't want to say nuclear, but like missile kind of explode. Nah, he can do that anyway. I'm gonna say he does an AP shot. He knows his AP shot now. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Ooh, I don't know what to make him do. Jeez, this is kind of hard. Alright, I know what I'm. So he knows how to impact. So when Izuku's on the floor, he's like, "How to impact!" And he does how to impact. And I'm gonna say, whilst he's doing this, Izuku's watching him very, very keenly. He's like, he's analyzing what he's doing basically. And then when Bakugo hits him, when Bakugo is just about to hit him, he flashes away. Yeah, he flashes away. I'm gonna say he doesn't have on 0%. He doesn't have cooldown on flash. Nah, that's kind of OP. That's a little too OP. Yeah, I'll probably nerf it a little. He has like I would say he has like a 1-minute cooldown. After this is the only exception. After that, he has a 1-minute cooldown. So he uses flash to get out, and then he runs back to Bakugo, kicks him in the sky, jumps up, and then overhead kicks him back to the floor. And then he's like, let's see if I can do this properly. And he's just like, decimation impact, and he flicks behind him to push him to propel himself forward. And then he basically copies how to impact, but instead of using explosion, he uses like the wind around him. Decimation impact, and he's smiling, just like, wow, he's copying Bakugo already. So yeah, I'm gonna say just before Deku was about to hit Bakugo, he loses control of it, and it like spread out. So like the surrounding area is damaged. Like it's like a sonic boom basically. A sonic boom just occurs, and everything's like either split in half or pushed. So Bakugo does still get hit by this, just it's nowhere near as powerful as it would have been if Decimation Impact did actually work. So yeah, Deku does not have wind manipulation, by the way. I'm just saying that he does that because I'll explain it later when he acquires the analyzation ability. So I'm just gonna leave it with Bakugo and Deku just laughing, and Hisashi awarding them with some KFC, because why not? Who doesn't? If you don't love KFC, you don't talk to me. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's a bit longer than normal. I'm pretty sure it's like 50-something minutes. Part 2 should be coming tomorrow. Hopefully nothing will go wrong. And yeah, peace.